Welcome to the Wonder of Stuff podcast, covering science, engineering and technology. From atoms to Android, zirconium to zoology, we'll cover it all here. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Wonder of Stuff vodcast. This is episode number 7. It's the second one of 2015. My time flies when you're having fun. And as always, this is broadcast live on Google Hangouts on air every weekend. It's a Sunday night this week. It's the place where you'll find news, information and commentary on science, engineering and technology from the past week and beyond, and anything else that interests us from inside our little human brains. As always, my name is John Gardner, and to help me out along the road to knowledge, I've got my colleagues as always, Richard Smith and Ross Davidson. Say hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
Jolly good. How's your week's been? Been good?
Not bad, yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh, glowing endorsement.
First week back of the year, come on. Not
Yeah,
bad,
that's
a
true.
Brilliant endorsement.
Right, okay, well, without further ado, we're going to get straight into this week's topics. And we're going over to Richard first, and something that we don't normally cover, diet pills. But this is an unusual and unique diet pill. Do you want to tell us a bit more, Richard?
Yeah, this is ferrexamine. And this is a new drug that's been developed. Like I say, it's a diet pill. It works slightly differently to traditional diet pills. So the way diet pills normally work is they're active in the stomach, which of course has then load and implications on liver and immune system and what have you. This one's slightly different. It works in the gut. And the way that it's being described is an imaginary meal pill. So it basically starts a cascading effect off as if you've eaten a meal. So the whole metabolic response, insulin response, that then goes on to burn fat. So that's the way that the mechanism by which it's supposed to work, which then sort of kickstarts the process of burning fat or converting what you call white fat into more healthy brown fat, which can then be used directly for energy. And this is something that they've been testing on mice at the moment. I think they're at the stage now where it's ready for human trials. So quite an interesting one, given the, as we've discussed before, the obesity rates. England, it's a quarter of all men and women are now obese. So good timing. This one's is considered to be safe and effective. But we'll have to wait for human trials to give that the rubber stamp, but that's the way it's looking at the moment.
So a lot excuse me, a lot of the diet tablets are out there. They a lot of them do bind fat together and get rid of that through the waste products, don't they? But this is specifically on, like you say, on the gut. Completely different, completely unique.
Yeah, it's influencing the way that the gut interacts with the body as a whole, but how the body then responds, its bile response, and that then it's a cascading effect. So the gut then releases a bile response, which then kickstarts the whole sort of the way that the body recognises that a meal's been eaten, and then the effect that it takes then to metabolize that meal. So yeah, it's a completely new way of approaching this problem.
So I guess, so because they're potentially hijacking a natural process, an internal signal to trick the body, then the potential side effects are much limited. In fact, there potentially could be no side effects. Yeah,
exactly. If it just, like you say, if it uses a natural pathway, as it were, to trick the body into thinking that it's had a meal that it hasn't had, and then the body goes through its natural course that it would do after that, to raise insulin levels and what have you. I mean, there's obviously going to be some health considerations there, isn't there? Because what happens if you take 10 in a row or whatever. But yeah, it seems as though it would be safer because the load's not on the liver, the load's not on the heart, the load's not on the other vital organ. So yeah.
And is this produced by a pharma company, or is this a university trials, or?
Yeah, it's a pharma company. Yeah, Stoke Institute is the laboratory.
All right, they're American, are they?
Yeah, American. Yeah.
So has there been any NHS response? Because I know that the NHS website sometimes, when it sees research papers, it actually puts a comment on. And have we had any response to whether this would?
I mean, it's in Nature Medicine, but it's just gone in. It's just gone in on Monday, so I think it's early days. Like I say, it's just mice trials at the moment, so probably premature for that. But I mean, that'll be the next thing, won't it?
So how long does it take to take something like that from mice trials to human trials? Or is it like years?
Well, yeah, it's normally years, isn't it? Yeah. I guess it comes down to money and legislation in the country where it's developed and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's normally a couple of years, isn't it? And how incentivized that company is to try and get it to market, I suppose, is another factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I can't comment because I don't know how the FDA in America does, how it treats these trials, but I expect it would be very similar to most countries, sort of like Britain. They have a definite process.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that yeah, it's that is really is the I guess that's the one of the main aims of medicine is to go in stealth-like and trigger off something that's already happening in the body, and if you can do that, then it reduces all side effects, and that's it's definitely an excellent.
I think that's the key to this is the safety thing, because there's plenty of drugs and chemicals out there that are effective in terms of fat loss. But their safety is not so good. DMP is the famous one. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's the one.
Was that the one in?
Been in the tabloids.
Was that the one in? Was that in trials in Germany?
No, it's not been trialed. It's not safe for human consumption at all. It's a pesticide basically, but it's an extremely effective. It's extremely effective at burning fat and decoupling fat in the body, but it's totally unsafe.
It's too effective.
Basically, I think the problem with DMP is that its half-life is sort of in that danger zone where it's something like 48 or 72 hours, where people are then tempted to just top it up, and then cumulatively you can end up with quite a lot of it in your body because of that delay. And also,
so it could be safe under very, very controlled conditions, but
well, who knows? It's a chemical for fertilization and pesticides, not for.
Okay, I mean, the obvious question is how. Now, I know we spoke last week about how you get certain things from one research process as a byproduct of another research process. But I mean, how did they think? Well, this is fertilizer, but we might just try it and see what. I
don't know how. I mean, it's not been trialed. There's never been a wide scale trial of it, a human trial of it. Presumably, it has been trialed on animals, I guess. But well, yeah, it would have to be, wouldn't it? Because it would be used. It's probably used on food crops.
On the grain, and the grain goes into the food chain because of the animals eat it. Yes, I guess so.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one that I've seen in the news quite a bit, because I think certain celebrities have been rumoured to take it, and but people who've taken it say it works very, very well, but it's dangerous if you. It's easy.
I seem to have a hand growing out of my head.
I I think it just
But I'm very thin now.
it's heart attack basically. It sort of
Oh.
elevates your heart rate for
Good,
sort of
good.
a very you could be
Yes.
you could be stuck in a sort of panic mode for about 24, 48 hours, which sounds horrendous.
That sounds like it would make you lose weight. Though.
I'm thinking that sounds like somebody would take on a Saturday night anyway.
But yeah, this is one that is a lot. It sounds like very promising, and it's like I say, it's hijacking the natural processes in the body, so tricking the body into lowering your glucose levels and what have you. So yeah, it sounds pretty promising.
Yeah, so just reading a little bit of that background, they've already started giving it to obese mice. Obese mice, yes, that's a big problem. So yeah, so they've started, and that's how they've started the process. But from it gets to that stage to getting a license, I guess, like you say, it'll take some while. So I guess.
And also, if the efficacy stays the same with humans, which this is the thing about mice trials, people get very excited, but we don't quite understand why we're apparently so close to mice. But then when they do human trials, stuff often doesn't work anywhere near as well, which is a shame.
Well, you've said this before. You've been very skeptical about when mice trials come up, and you always say, "Well, hang on now."
Well, it's a standard way to do it, isn't it? I mean, it's not a criticism of it. It's the only way to do it, really. You wouldn't go straight to human trials. It's like taking a driving theory test before the practical, but it's the right approach. But it doesn't always tell you everything. Doesn't tell you how well someone's going to drive. You only know that once you put them in front of a wheel, don't you? So.
Indeed. Right. Well, that's one that we need to keep an eye on. And but up until that gets a license, I guess it's just eat less, move more. Then.
Yeah, I suppose you could always stop yourself getting that way in the first place by just putting less out.
Do some exercise, take in less calories.
Well, the interesting thing that not a lot of people know about fat cells is that they're acquired. You start with an amount of cells, amount of fat cells. All humans are created equal in that regard. But if you become obese, not only are the fat cells enlarged, but also your body increases the number of fat cells, and that's permanent. That's one of the reasons that people who have been obese. There's a multitude of reasons, but that's one of the reasons they say that it's easy to sort of bounce back and become obese again quite quickly, is because you have that capacity there. You have those fat cells. Once they're created, they're there forever. So any help. I mean, it's obviously a really big problem if it's a quarter of the UK, and it's much more than that in the US, isn't it? It's about half or something like that. So it's a significant problem.
Even if it cuts down the amount of sort of gastric band operations, which obviously any invasive surgical operations are going to be expensive. So, if it cuts down on the amount of that, and then obviously it's not. I think it's important to say that these type of things are not a panacea. You still have to exercise, and you still have to eat less. But I think it's dangerous when you get these things, if they get to the stage where it's like, oh well, here's a pill, it has very little if no side effects, stuff it, I'm just going to stuff my face with whatever I want and just pop one of these.
Yeah, because if it was me, I'd be thinking, okay, well, to wean myself off that extra meal, I'll take this drug for now. But surely the thing you'd want to do eventually is be able to control that yourself, wouldn't you, without the drug? You would hope that's what people would want to do. Yeah,
definitely. Right, well, I think we'll leave that one there, and we'll pop on to the next one for this evening. And the next one is it's mine. Ah, yes, right, okay. Well, this is one of my favourite subjects of all time ever, and this is little green men, otherwise known as extraterrestrial biological entities. And I think it's fair to say that as long as there have been humans inhabiting the small blue and green planet, we've always been thinking of what else is out there. From when we used to live in caves, we've been looking forward to see what's over the other hill. When we've had a further few more bits of transport. We've been looking to see how to get off an island. When we get ships, we try to navigate the globe. But in parallel to all this, we've always been looking up to the heavens and going, well, what is it just us? Are we the only ones here? Now, obviously, this whole area is being dictated to by technology, because we've had the ideas, but a lot of the time we haven't had the technology. I mean, we had, I guess, for many years, people have been looking up to the skies and wondering what's out there. But until we had sort of optical telescopes in the 17th and 18th century, we haven't even been able to look, that far into the future. And then I guess into the 20th century, when we had radio telescopes coming in the 1930s, we got more interested in it. Then there was science fiction films in the 50s. We got more interested in it. We got man out to the moon in the 60s. More interested. But again, I think the whole of this preamble that I'm doing here is because we've had in the last week some exoplanets found, and these are supposedly in the Goldilocks Zone. Now, for those people who don't know about the Goldilocks Zone, it's essentially the place or the area where we feel is most habitable. The chance of habitable life is in the universe, and the Kepler radio telescope, when it was launched in 2009, basically kick-started us. That was the technology we needed, because we essentially ran out of using Earth astronomy. We had to go out further and further, and having a radio telescope out in the off the planet was the only way we can go and investigate that. So so basically there was these two. Well, actually, there's three exoplanets were found. And they all got names: Kepler 438b, 442b, and 440b. But I think the point I wanted to make is that it has been on some mainstream media. I have seen this article a couple of times mentioned, but it's been mentioned in the frame that we're one step closer. Well, we're kind of not really, because what they estimate is that the Kepler radio telescope itself has to it's running on half power, because there was a big problem with it originally when it went into space, and it's got 54 further candidates that he's got to look at that are possibly in this Goldilocks zone, but there's 40 billion possible candidates in the Milky Way, so we're just really just like blowing the surface dust off. So what do you think? What do you think about life elsewhere? What do you think we are alone?
Well, I definitely think we are not. But I mean, just on the subject of the Goldilocks zone, obviously the reason that they think this is where to look is it's all to do with water. So basically, it's not so cold that the water's frozen, but it's not so hot that the water's vapor, so it's liquid water. And liquid water is what they're looking for, because obviously our current understanding of life, the life we know, it revolves around liquid water. So that's why we're looking for these sort of planets. And I mean, one thing that I've always said on this sort of thing, obviously with the Kepler looking for planets, ever since they worked out a way of discovering planets via the couple of methods they've got, either the dimming when the planet goes in front of the actual star, or the wobble of the star as it goes round it. They're a couple of methods they use. Every star they've looked at, they've found planets pretty much. And now what they're finding is that a lot of these planets are in the Goldilocks zone. So my sort of opinion is Earth is in no way special. We're not around a special star, we're not a special planet. So therefore, there's no reason for us to be the only life. So I think statistically, it's highly probable. Now, that's my opinion. Obviously, we only have the one measurement, so it's all conjecture.
Yeah, I think one thing that I failed to mention was that the whole point of the Kepler Space Telescope is it's looking for exoplanets, and what I didn't describe is what an exoplanet is. And this is it's a planet that's not orbiting the sun; it's orbiting a star or something else like a brown dwarf, and that Goldilocks zone is like you said, it's got sufficient atmospheric pressure to maintain water on the surface.
Yeah.
So. And that's the only reason that this Kepler Space Telescope is out there. But like I said, it's because of it had initial faults when it was launched. It's only really operating at half power. So whatever it can find, it's severely diminished by this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? And the more, like Ross says, the more we look, the more we find the amount of candidates increases, doesn't it? The amount of planets that are in the zone, the amount of star systems themselves, which are in their own Goldilocks zones. You know, there's a definition of that as well. You know, the systems themselves have to be in a Goldilocks zone of their own to support life. The greater systems that they're part of, indeed, as well, are part of a zone, because of course there's entire galaxies that wouldn't be habitable because of their composition and what have you. But yeah, all the initial estimates, well, I'm saying initial estimates, but the estimates over time of number of potentially habitable planets goes up, doesn't it, every time we look? So yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's just adding more detail to that, isn't it?
But I think I'm right. Sorry, go on.
It'll be far more interesting when these observations are direct, which probably isn't going to be in our lifetimes. But you know, they're indirect. So like Ross says, it's things like the wobble and things like that. But my worry is with that sort of thing is, you know, we can very easily be wrong about that, and that could be caused by something.
Well, this is the thing. I mean,
unexpected, unanticipated.
Yeah, a lot of the time, you sort of when these do get reported the news, quite often they'll say, you know, it's a rocket planet that has water on the surface, and then they'll have an artist's impression of the planet, and it's like, whoa, hold on a minute. We don't know any of that. Obviously, the next step would be advanced telescopes or data analysis to be able to actually sort of like, you know, do a spectrograph type thing of the light from the planet, so you can actually measure the composition of its atmosphere. That would be the next step. But like you say, none of this is direct observations of planets. They're all sort of inferred. So, you know, it's possible that it's wrong, but again, they're probably right.
And I think it's also a salient point that has to be made is the fact that these planets are 470 million light years away from us. So whenever it's picking up a signal, it's picking up a signal that's 1,000 years. You know, it's 1,000 years in the past. So all of these things it's very hard to work. So even if you're getting some life, it might now be extinct. And it may you know, I make fun of it when I say, you know, extraterrestrial biological entities, little green men. What we probably would have is some sort of primordial soup, if anything. It's not, you know, I'm not expecting that they have some guy who's got a little big head and big eyes and wearing an Arsenal shirt.
But it's one of these things. I mean, when it comes to the discussion of life being out there, I'm personally convinced it is, but also convinced the chances of us actually happening to be looking in the right direction at the right time are probably next to nothing. So whether we'll ever actually find it, that's another question altogether. I think the only way to sort of, you'd be looking at visiting somewhere and finding evidence of past civilization sort of thing, but, you know, visiting these planet stars, you know, the distances are so vast. And I mean, I find that sort of quite a sort of a, not depressing, but a bit of a shame that I don't think we'll ever discover it.
Well, I mean, right, you know, we've had the search for extraterrestrial intelligence SETI have been on the go since the 60s. Obviously, they had the SETI at Home project started in sort of, I think it was 1999. But I think I'm right in saying that the only anomaly that we've ever had was the WOW signal that was in 1977, where it was I think it was Ohio State University had a dish that picked up, and there was one scientist on duty, and on all he put on the computer printout was WOW, and that's from then it's been known as the WOW signal. But they've never ever managed to pick it up again, and we don't know whether this was a mistake in configuration, whether it was some Earth interference. We just don't know.
I'm very skeptical that an advanced civilization would support Arsenal, but apart from that, I think there's two ways to look at it. I mean, one way is that SETI and this endeavour as a whole is a bit of a gimmick and not real science. But another way is just like your introduction, really, that you know, human curiosity, as you've said, from the time of, you know, coming out of our villages and, you know, leaving Africa and so on and so forth, to Columbus and what have you. That's what it's been about, discovering things, discovering new worlds. I would hope when most people talk about that, they talk about the potential for life rather than just finding rocks and mapping them out. And that's good to do, but surely what we're really looking for is, you know, are we alone here? And, you know, those are the big questions, aren't they? So I guess in that sense it aims to answer those. But yeah, I can't help feeling like Ross says that it's, you know, it's a bit sad because we're probably never going to know. But then again, I mean, what did you say? 1977. It hasn't been going that long, really, has it? So it's a bit early to sort of, you know, to shut it down yet. I mean, it's just started, really, hasn't it?
I don't think there's any inference that they're going to shut it down. I think it's just in the grand scheme of things of
the a few times.
Yeah, I mean, of the date of the universe, that 1977 to now is so infinitesimally small.
There was a picture I saw just this week as well that someone had a picture of our galaxy and had a circle of how far our radio transmissions have gone. So obviously since the day we made radios, our transmissions have started going out. And it was like a pixel. So, and this just shows you the sort of sheer scope of, you know, that's how far radio transmissions have gone in that time. It's just the sheer size. How would we know? When would we know? It's going to be millions of years for the signals to actually get that far, and then if they heard it, they'd have to send it back, and then, you know.
And also, it's we pick our radio telescopes on Earth. We're picking like frequencies that we assume intelligent life will broadcast on, and they're like frequencies of I think is it helium?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Hydrogen. Sorry,
hydrogen.
Picked the wrong gas. But yeah, hydrogen. So this is the frequency. 420 megahertz is what they were listening on, which is the naturally emitted hydrogen frequency. But you know, it's essentially a shot in the dark.
Yeah. But I don't know whether we've covered this before. It may relate to what we were talking about in a previous podcast about energy. One of the other ways people have talked about looking for life is looking for these civilizations that are type whatever it is, that are using the energy from the star.
Yeah.
Type 2. So you look for somewhere where there should be a star of a certain type, but you can't see the light, which would infer that all the energy is getting used up by an advanced civilization. There's all sorts of different ways they can use for looking for life, but obviously they're looking for radio because it seems a natural, you know, early form of communication. Therefore, you would assume advanced civilizations would emit radio signals. Yeah,
and the stuff does, you know, there's universals, isn't there, in the universe? So stuff does track along a line. You know, you kind of, well, as much as the greatest minds in the world can wrap their heads around it, you know, that's the way you would progress. So, you know, it's linear. You've got no choice in the matter. The energy is from the sun. So any civilization that wants to progress to that stage has to do that, so therefore you'd expect to see it, wouldn't you? But yeah, of course, he could be wrong, but you would expect to see that.
Interesting. So yeah, we're a long way away from it, and like you say, it's probably not in our lifetime. I'd like it to be in a lifetime, but I doubt it. So I think we'll probably leave that there. I don't think we can add any more to that. Not that the vast array of scientists around the world can already add anyway. So we'll whiz on to the next topic, and this is technology. This is consumer technology. This is what we use in our very everyday mobile phones, etc., etc. We're going to the Consumer Electronics Show, well, virtually and metaphorically, because frankly, our budget just doesn't pay for Ross to do that.
No.
So Ross, you've been having a look at what's at CES this year and come up with some favourites.
Yeah, I've been looking at it interesting, and obviously there's a lot of the usual stuff you would expect. There's a lot of big tellies. There's 8K tellies. We haven't even got 4K ones in our house yet, but now there's 8K ones, and lots of drones, and the usual sort of thing that you would expect. But what I've done is I've just picked out a few of the ones that sort of are the more interesting ones, I think. And the first is one which is actually battery technology. Now, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but there's an Israeli company called StoreDot. Now, it was earlier last year, I think they announced this, and this actually follows on from what we talked about earlier about research bringing up interesting things. They were actually doing some investigation at the University of Tel Aviv into Alzheimer's disease. And what they found was that there was a certain peptide molecule which shortens neurons in the brain, and this is what they think causes Alzheimer's disease. What they also found was that it was remarkably good at holding high capacity. It was high capacitance, thanks to something called charge trapping, which traps electrons. So what they've done is they've decided to try and use this in batteries. And what they've got is a battery that they are basically saying can charge your mobile phone in about 30 seconds. Now, obviously, everyone who's got a mobile phone would like that because, everyone's had mobile phones run out and then, you have to sit around for a couple of hours for it to charge. So they were there at the CES show, actually showing one. Now, it was only 900 milliamp hours, and there's a few people saying it hasn't really been shown to actually work. They've just got a sort of something that measures the charge and shows you that it was charged fully. But they basically think that they're going to get this technology out in 2017, they think. So obviously that is a very interesting thing, and hopefully, I certainly hope that I can charge my phone in 30 seconds. That would be very handy. Have we lost John, Richard?
He does seem to be frozen, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Oh well, we'll continue anyway. So the next one that I was looking at was actually following on from what we talked about last week about tech for this year, and it was to do with virtual reality. Now, obviously, Oculus Rift was there. There was a couple more, but the one that I was most interesting was from a gaming accessory company called Razer. Now, you may have heard of this company, and they create lots of keyboards and gaming controllers and mice and that sort of thing. And what they've done is it's not so much a commercial product. They're calling it a hacker dev kit. It's basically a dev kit and a development platform to enable VR hardware and software to be developed. So basically, they're partnering with a few people, Leap Motion, who do the hand. It tracks your hands. And another one called Unity, and I think that's an engine for not 3D graphics. It's for like sort of ragdoll physics type things. I think that's who they are. So that's quite interesting. That's a $199 device. So obviously VR
it seems to be opening up quite a lot now, doesn't it? It seemed to be only one or two companies interested initially, and now it seems to. I guess it just follows interest, isn't it, in investment?
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that people are doing is sort of VR, not so much headsets, but things for holding your mobile phone. Samsung came out with one, and then I think there's been one at CES that you could use your iPhone with. So basically, it uses your phone for the actual processor and the screen, and the phone fits in, and then you've got the lenses in front of it, and it uses the phone's, magnetometer and gyroscope and that sort of thing. So that's quite interesting, because that could be quite a sort of a low-cost entry-level VR headset, because most people who are interested in this sort of thing will tend to have relatively high-end phones. So that's quite interesting as well. The other thing was actually a couple of things from Intel. One which is quite interesting, one which is just I thought I'd put on there just because it seems mad to me. The first one was it's an Intel. It's a PC on a stick. It's called a compute stick. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of these USB sticks, like the Chrome device, the Amazon Fire Stick, all these sort of things that do streaming and that sort of thing, and you can cast your screen to. The Intel one seems much more to me like it is actually a full-blown computer on a stick. It's a quad-core CPU, 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of flash storage. If you get the Windows one, it comes with Windows 8.1, which may or may not be appealing to people. Or you can get a Linux version as well. I'm assuming you can install your own version of Windows on it. It is a full-blown PC, and that's quite interesting because I've got my desktop PC hooked up to my telly via an HDMI cable, which is great. But when I'm sitting watching something, I would quite like all of my fans to turn off because my desktop's quite loud. So I would like to have a sort of a home theatre PC, but just plugged into the back of the TV.
It seems to me that the market's been ripe for that sort of thing for years.
Definitely.
I don't understand why it's taken quite so long, to be honest.
Yeah.
They all seem to have got the market at the same time, don't they?
Yeah, and they're all coming in at such good price as well. I mean, this Intel one is $150 for the PC one. I think it's $119 for the Linux one, which, when you think of it, is tremendously good value for what is effectively a PC that will be able to run Windows.
Yeah.
And get a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse sorted. The other thing that Intel mentioned, which I said I'll talk about, is something called the Smart Clip. Now, what they're actually saying this can be used for, I don't know whether it's its main reason or just something useful. You clip it to your child's car seat harness, and it alerts you if you leave your child in the car.
Right.
Apparently, this is a growing problem in America, and several apparently so. Apparently, there was something like 40 or 50 incidents of this happening in America last year, which is basically parents. I don't know whether it's which parent it is or whether it's equal amongst the sexes, but parents are driving their cars with their child strapped in the back seat, forgetting about the child, and just wandering off. So Intel have actually released a piece of technology when your car's not in motion and the child's still clipped in, it alerts you, which I think is one of those situations where it's a bit of technology to solve a problem that just shouldn't exist. But
I suppose we could have, people would have been skeptical about the thing that beeps when you leave your keys in the ignition and what have you, and yet it's very useful, isn't it? I suppose.
Well, I mean, yeah, something like forgetting to turn your lights off. That's easy to do, but forgetting your child in the back seat, that's not good.
Well, maybe they're doing it on purpose.
You would hope not. You would hope not. Welcome back, John.
Sorry, I'm back. I've had a particularly bad blue screen of death.
Joyful. Well, what you've missed, I don't know if did you catch the store dot battery?
Nothing. I got absolutely nothing.
Okay.
But I'm assuming it was very intellectually stimulating.
You'll have to watch the episode.
I'll have to watch it back.
You have to watch it back. And the last thing that I had on my list was actually the one that I mentioned for you, Richard. This is actually comes up from what you were looking forward to this year. It's a thing that a company have released called the Smarter Eye Kettle. This is actually a kettle, it actually says it's called the Smarter Eye Kettle, but it's a coffee machine, which connects to the internet, and you can control it with your Android or Apple phone, and you can tell it to make a cup of tea before you get in the house. And I imagine that it would track how many cups of tea you have. So it's one of those Internet of Things.
Time,
yeah, exactly. You can set it. It'll tell you when it needs refilling. You can set it to have a welcome home mode. So as you walk through the door, it'll switch itself on and start making you a nice cup of coffee.
Genius, you see, there you go. That's all you need, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So they were the ones that I picked up that interested me. Like I say, the battery, I think, is the most interesting, even though it's something that hasn't really been shown in its entirety. Battery technology is something that is always seems to be behind technology, and there never seems to be any significant advances in battery technology. I don't know if this is just one of these things where
I think it's one of those things where it's to do with how the technology has evolved over time. Did you know that rechargeables were made exclusively in Japan until 4 or 5 years ago, or something like that?
Really?
You're the only country in the world making. I mean, China makes them now, and you can get them. But for us as consumers in the UK, all your rechargeables were coming from Japan until just a few years ago. You can now get these Chinese mass-produced ones, which are much cheaper. But yeah, they've been on the market so little time that people don't know what the durability is going to be like. So I suspect it's got something to do with that those technologies have been developed by a limited number of companies because of their historical origins, I guess.
Yeah.
But as that opens up to China and elsewhere, then clearly the development's going to explode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, all I can say, the only thing I saw at CES was exactly what I wanted to see, which was the hoverboard. And and like you did say, you said in the last episode, I think that it's a maglev technology, and it's just got this big sheet of metal, and it's like it's gonna limit you where you can get to. To be fair,
there was actually a couple more things that were the next step in human transport or whatever. On the similar sort of thing, there was a powered roller skate.
I did see that. I did see that with those massive wheels.
Yeah, and there was another one which was like a skateboard, but it just had one central wheel. It's one of these things, you know when they did the Segway, and it's quite impressive because it does balance itself. There seems to have been a multitude of things that do that, and you think, why don't you just have two wheels? You know what I mean? Why are you making it balance itself when it could just have three wheels and be a tricycle? People use this technology because they can. It's bizarre. Although over Christmas, my nephew did get a little toy robot that was like it balanced itself, and I did have fun playing that.
Yeah, I mean it's wonders what you can do with a gyroscope, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean. Yeah, so I will have to now go back and re-watch this episode to see all of the good things that I've missed. Well, I mean, we've hit the 45-minute mark, which is unbelievable. Yay, bang on. So I think probably what we'll do is we'll leave it there for this evening, unless anybody else has got anything else to say. Nope.
I did think of something I was going to raise at the end, halfway through that as well.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just say my normal end of show blurble, and then you can pop in if you remember it. So, as always, if you've enjoyed the show or if you've hated the show, if you've got anything to ask us to ask or have a conversation about, as always, please you can tweet us there. Everybody's got that Twitter handle on there tonight, or you can email us on the wonderofstuff@gmail.com. We are also this week hopefully going to get a Wonder of Stuff blog sorted out. We've got to put some branding on it and stuff. And what we're going to do there is, rather than us put the show notes on the YouTube channel and also on the Google Plus channel, we'll just put it all on the Blogspot page and link to all of the episodes that we've got from there. We can also put other things on there, like sort of like Bluffer's Guide to Space, Bluffer's Guide to all that sort of thing. We'll hopefully have a little encyclopedia of background knowledge. So when we're talking about stuff, you can always go there and find out some background about what we're talking about. Unless, of course, it's just bollocks, which we're very good at.
Yeah.
So did you remember what we were going to say?
No, completely forgot. But I have thought of something else.
All right, go on then.
Which was just that from a previous episode, the Space Engine. There is a new version of Space Engine that was released over Christmas. So it's on version 0.9.7.2. But again, I would recommend you playing with it. It's just great fun.
This is the software that builds sort of planets and stuff.
It's the one that, you can fly around the universe and go to stars and see planets and pretty pictures and stuff. The new version has all sorts of things like lava flows and what else was there? There were some other things. We'll put the link up to the side.
Yeah, we'll put the link up and you can go in and just while away the hours. Well, you've got obviously nothing better to do like having a life and stuff.
It's got nice relaxing music on it. Everything's great.
It has. You can put it on the screen in the background, Ross, next time.
Yeah.
We can all chill out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the end of episode 7. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, go to all those communication methods that that I've spoken about, and tell us what you think of it. So that is all from now. So see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.